Hello and welcome to today's edition of Connected with Krissy. Today I am here with my friend Maximus Light. He is a sound healer. He is an expert in harmonic languages of the universe, and he also did this amazing talk on his YouTube channel where he talks about the livelihood and creation of paradise. So we're going to talk about all of those today, plus much more. Thank you.
That was a blog post.
That was a blog.
I don't have a lot of blogs, so it was a blog post. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a blog post. So we're also going to get into that because people are having so much changes right now, and changes in livelihood, and changes in how they're living in their own earthly space. So we're going to talk about that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start, I always like to start with people's own specific healing journeys. So obviously you have, an amazing resume with amazing talents, with a background in music. So tell us about that and your childhood and how all of this sort of came to be.
Well, I kind of live like most normal people in the suburb, kind of a deal. And then I started playing the violin when I was 4. Went to college for all that.
That's really early for violin, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
okay, were you like
4,
a prodigy?
Were you like? I wish I was a prodigy. No, I was not a prodigy. I started out playing on a Cracker Jacks box.
Really?
Yeah, I just practice holding the instrument, getting comfortable to play that.
Neat. Okay. So you started out with a violin.
Yeah. But that's not really like a big part of my life at this point. That was just, I don't actually play the violin very much now.
Okay.
I don't actually enjoy it that much. It's kind of limiting actually for the kind of frequencies I work with now.
Mm-hmm.
The violin has actually, fairly limited range. There's a lot you can do with it, but I do more than that. Like right now I work with overblowing my vocal cords, and I started spontaneously doing that. We talked before, but I didn't tell you this part that I was living in Maui. I was in Kauai. I was driving from one part of the island to the other, and I just spontaneously started having this feeling like arising in my body. Mm-hmm. And this is before my whole like unlocking in my soul, which we'll tell you about in a second. But I started feeling this, and it was like this amazing feeling, and I was like, when you're driving in the car by yourself, you have permission to do, say whatever you want.
I am a singer in my car, but not in real life.
That was me. And it was like, crazy sounds, but it was such a fascinating sounds because there's many sounds at once. When you overblowing your vocal cords, I work with right now, like the blend, like Tibetan throat singing, which people are familiar with. That would be kind of one aspect, though I have a much wider range of frequencies that I work with than just that. And I'll do higher frequency ranges also, but when you can modulate your voice, you get multiple sounds and octaves and overtones at once. And what this is like kind of like, in that so I didn't tell anybody about that for about 6 years. Okay. And eventually I went back to Hawaii to heal and kind of collect myself after some trauma, and then I started getting the call to start sharing that as a healing modality. And I didn't, because it was very like, these sounds can be very harsh sometimes, and it's like, how do I share that with somebody? Like if I just do it for you guys or you, initially, you might not have enjoyed it.
I liked it, but
now I mix it with the drums, so it's a lot of times it's a little bit easier, Anyways, I started getting a call, and about a year or two after that, I had this like unlocking in my soul where I was able to access wisdom from like an incredible span of time before, and I discovered in that process that those sounds that I was working with were actually harmonic language. Harmonic language of universe. They carry both creation and destruction within them at the same time. And
now is that something that you found out from like Google, or was that something your guides
shared? That was when I went through this unlocking in my soul. There was just like, when I say the word profound, profound information that is beyond human understanding. And it, like I started doing all these mudras at this moment,
I love
and I my soul like traveled back through cosmos, and I unlocked my soul from where I had created the separation intentionally so I could be in humanity for a while to observe everything happening here so I can assist humanity at the proper time after I completed my assessment period.
How long was the assessment period?
About 1,500 years.
How long was it in this
lifetime? Well, I unlocked my soul when I was about, I think it was about 36 or 35.
Okay.
So, it's a good amount of years this lifetime. This lifetime was like kind of a culmination of, actually what's interesting is my test this lifetime was to see if I could actually create what we were talking about before, one of those echo communities situations.
Yes. Yeah.
My goal was to actually acquire and live on and create my own 2.5 to 5 acre parcel with like a woman and kind of be in love and create a family.
Yes,
and I wasn't able to achieve that, so it drove me to having to take it to the next level. And it was from the sheer force and desire from my own being to bring about greater health for people and happiness for people. Because like as a kind of average type of a person in a relatively moderately privileged environment, United States, healthy suburb, relatively healthy family. If I was able to do it, a certain number of other people would also have been able to do it. Since I wasn't, it basically like wasn't going to be good for everybody else. And so so basically, like, I came here originally to help assist with the evolution of humanity through this transition period that we're going through, which we are very aware of at this point.
100%.
And this transition is facilitated by a number of different beings and that kind
of thing.
Galactic,
cosmic beings.
There's a lot of forces at play.
Angelic.
Yeah, they're just one.
Yes.
I mean, do you believe it? Are you a God person?
All of it. all of it. So when I was really little, I connected with just the stars, and I would actually feel like I catapulted into the galaxy, oddly enough. And, not so oddly enough for somebody like you, but then I really heavily resonate with starseed and sort of that, even the Palladians, like that sort of whole thing. So yes, I believe in all of the above, but for people who don't, I think we're getting help from all of the realms right now.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I'll say it like this. I'll just say it the way I see it, and I don't always bring it in, but for me, I was, let me think about how to say this. Okay, so so let me explain it this way. The name of God has been used to justify terrible action on people for millennia. The reason is because when somebody who doesn't have power wants power, they have to call in an additional source to justify and also to really kind of convince other people psychically that they can do what they're doing.
Right.
Now, this is only possible when individuals do not know God themselves. Okay?
Yes. I've got chills. That makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, and what that means is I am not trying to convince people of, say, my experience, because they're not beliefs, they're experience.
Right.
But it's important for each individual to kind of like be open.
Absolutely.
And in that process of being open, the reason that that's important is because there are so many possibilities of existence.
Yes.
And if you for a moment think that you know everything and that you are, let me see how to explain this. It just gets very depressing.
It's too much on your shoulders, right?
It's too much on your shoulders, and it can quickly turn into a little bit of like the self-sabotage stuff, because you cannot wield a certain amount of power beyond your current abilities.
Right.
So if you can do something with ease and grace, and like I teach, the basis of what I offer is play, fun, and love.
Yes.
And it's very healing for people to hear that and be given permission on a spiritual path of that. But I know that that's what works.
Right.
Because you can only do, like, I'll tell you.
Action. Some people are too much action, and then it's exhausting, right?
Well, it's not that the action itself is not good or exhausting unto itself, is that there's no fruits coming from that action.
Right.
And that's suffering.
Like a hamster on the wheel, right?
Yeah. That is not going anywhere because you do not
Right.
contain the wisdom.
That was my next question.
And
So
the wisdom
why?
comes from evolution, and you only continue to access and kind of connect with experiences through maintaining an open mind. If you think you know everything, and that's the problem with religion. Bless everybody's heart. It's an introductory stage.
Yes.
It's an introductory stage that creates comfort, but it is a very limiting stage.
I was going to say it feels like fake comfort because a lot of what religion I was raised around was not true faith.
Yeah.
Which I feel going through.
Yet, what you believe today will be proven wrong at some later point.
Yes, 100%.
And I'll tell you why, because everything is constantly evolving. And so that the truth is only known in the moment. And it doesn't yet need to be described or explained away. And when you know your own truth, you then have access to much greater power because you're willing to, for better or worse, you accept your responsibility of your existence. So if you accept and you honor your own power, which is connecting with truth, basically truth being that you're honoring what is. You're honoring what is. I feel so happy right now. I feel so sad right now. Or
Yes.
I feel called to do this. Or
Yes.
I feel called to do that.
Yes.
Honoring that. Now, that process of honoring is a very deep and profound process. It is not something to just be wiped away or washed away or,
Right.
We're talking about care for yourself. Care for yourself in the sense that if you are going to be subject to your own, to the effects of your own action, that's wonderful and terrifying at the same moment.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what my kind of artwork here is about. Having gone through incredible destruction and creation, pain, suffering, and joy, and across my existence, you kind of earn this kind of like, it's kind of like a badge.
I love it.
In the universe.
Yes,
it's
I
kind
love
of a
it.
badge, right? And I do transmissions with people. So I do the eye transmissions where I kind of send them information that is beyond words. Words are wonderful, but they're not a very advanced way currently, simply because when I work with harmonic languages of the universe, what happens is I'm working with vibration itself. And the meaning of vibration is within the vibration.
Right.
It self-explains itself because it's in congruence with the totality, which is, you only know that through learning about God, because God created everything. But that is not something that I'll ever push down upon somebody. I bring in the blessing and the gift of your existence and knowing that truth for yourself. And I'm here to kind of cultivate a sacred space for humanity so that they can have permission within their choice in certain bounds to explore their existence in a very sacred and beautiful way.
Why do you think it's so hard? I was telling Max earlier that the past 2 years I've been working really hard on coming into the truth of myself. Wow, that's a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I thought it was a
I thought it was a bird at first. I'm like, wow.
Some serious there's butterflies again.
Why
Of
do
transformation.
you? Yes,
as you
a
sing, flying up.
transformation. Oh, I just got chills. So I've been through huge transformation, and specifically, well, even through my pregnancy and stuff too, but through the last 2 years, because I'm like, finally, I'm going to accept everything that I am. I'm a wrestler. I'm a mom. I'm a model. I am a host because I love people. I'm a communicator. How do you advise that people, just so mine came from having my little boy. My ancestors are standing behind me. They're saying, look, it stops here. So for people that don't get messages like that or are not able to tap into it quite yet, how do you help people reach that level of awareness where they go, okay, this is who I'm supposed to be, and actually be abundant? And because our world is important for us to be abundant, because those are comforts, and it costs money to live. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you help people and advise people? What's your advice for somebody who's watching this saying, well, I want to be who I am, but how am I going to do that and pay my bills?
Yeah. There's a couple parts to that, to the answer of how I would answer that. The first one I'll give a segue into, because if you like my energy and you like my vibe, certainly this can be the beginning of a beautiful relationship, which I'm happy to support many, many people.
You see people online and in person, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're in St. Pete, Florida, but Max also sees people online as well.
I do, and I'm also in the process of building an online course.
Wonderful.
And like a membership site, so that it's very easy and affordable.
Yes.
For certain baseline, like a certain repertoire of information.
Mm-hmm.
One of those pieces will be a new understanding of money, which I'll be releasing on my membership site probably. Maybe I'll just put it on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'm determining. I might do an early release on mine and then move it on there. But you see, as we understand truth and reality more and more accurately, we have greater ability to create our happiness. Because let's just say for a moment, like, fear is very much like thinking there's something here when there really isn't.
Right.
But you're acting like it is there.
Right.
So if you never walk in this
it feels as though it's there.
You're totally convinced that is something that's there.
Right.
100%. You're acting like it. You might even bump into this illusory thing, and now you're like, oh, I should be feeling pain. Oh, I'm feeling pain now. You know, it's like you're very in it, right?
Yes.
Now, as we understand things more and more accurately, we can inform our action and therefore get off of that treadmill that goes nowhere. Okay, and that's been the problem with some of the action humans have been doing.
Yes.
It's all meant to be sometimes in that way. That's also why we have so many people here. We're all here to support each other and to enjoy our company with each other. And it's also beautiful to have the contrast. Some people who don't enjoy spending time with, no problem.
Right.
No problem. No problem. Thank you. Get into something else.
Maybe
you for I will be later, or maybe having lived very in poverty for a lot of my adult life, not really realizing, knowing that I couldn't do anything else other than that. I am very excited to support incredible wealth for people. However, I will begin a lot of my teachings in understanding more deeply what is wealth. Money is a wonderful part of
But it might be going away.
Well, that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen.
I mean, I'm feeling that.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm 100% feeling that it's just maybe...
And that happens as we evolve our understanding to a higher level, to a more whole level. And then we still operate, we still have energetic exchanges that are beautiful and honoring and all that good stuff that feel delightful.
Right.
Like, if whatever happens beyond money is not more fun, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's got to have to be more enjoyable, more fun, and more productive, and more, it's got to be more.
Right.
It's like the electric car today. It's got to be more than the gas car. And it's got to be, and Elon Musk was like, it's got to be, we have to make it so compelling or nobody's going to want it.
Yeah. Have an 18-hour
and there's
battery
other forces that play around that, though. Also, there's a certain amount of collective consciousness. So I do a bit of collective consciousness work to prepare humanity's soul, the collective, as all their fields and all their influences, to be able to receive and get to the next step. A lot of things
Right.
are one step at a time. You don't go to this step, you got to build
100%.
strength progressively. So I answered some of your question on that. The next way I would probably answer it is a lot of health and wealth for people is going to start. I'll give you guys this a little bit. And this is, you got to consider that a lot of things in life are already there for the taking.
Yes.
For like, how many amazing books are out there? I've been an avid reader. I have a reading suggested, well, I really think it's a required reading list, but I have a suggested reading list on my website. So if you're looking for some good books, to go there, check it out, maximuslight.com. But in there, when you are thinking about your own personal education, you always want to come back to that keeping the mind open.
Right.
Because that's a very sacred teaching within Buddhism, and they say having the mind like a beginner's mind, which is absolutely true. Because as soon as you get caught up in it being too constricted, you're not going to have fun. And what keeps you going to the next step? Having fun.
There's like a lightness and an airy-fairy sort of feeling.
Think of some of the most shodden down people, children. Okay, their minds are open and they ask questions that are good questions, but we shut them down because we think we know this or this, or maybe it's even heading up on traumas.
Yes.
And so you do your personal healing. Anytime you use force over, there's a protective use of force, which is important. That's the healthy masculine. Okay. And then there is the punitive use of force, which is thought to be the masculine, but is just trauma. It is not a masculine quality.
Absolutely.
It is just trauma.
And we're in a severely, our masculine society is severely damaged.
Well, what's so cool
but it's rising up.
Women are now the leaders.
Yes.
They're now the leaders. The feminine is the leader now. And I go into this, I shot a video, which I haven't yet released as of this moment, but I will soon. I shot it like a year ago, actually, and it was one of my friends who reads Akashic Records, and we had the Akashic Records ask me some questions. It would be appropriate. And they're about the masculine-feminine dynamic today, so I'll have that up soon, either on my website or on my YouTube. But that healing is at the forefront of everything right now.
Right.
You don't get to unity consciousness without coming to terms. Coming to terms, not just being like, it's there. It's like embracing and loving fully and completely all aspects of our being.
Right.
Right? And that happens as a practice unto itself of embodiment. A lesson within embodiment, because you have to understand that we incarnate specifically to have certain types of lessons for the soul that would not be as easy to get if you're just floating around in the universe.
Absolutely.
So we get constricted into form, which forces creativity for us to learn and evolve within certain things. So, the structure of the human body, the bone structure, all very sacred. There are people who study the ratios here, how they resonate. You realize that calcium is a metal.
Oh, I did not know that.
Calcium is a metal. So, it's white. It looks like powdery at times, but if it's just pure calcium, it's like cuts like cheese, and it's like a metal.
Oh, wow.
And so, consider that it is an excellent conductor and resonator, and it is also hollow, your bones. And you have layers, even you got the marrow, which is acidic, calcium, which is alkaline, and then you have nested layers of alkaline, and this is how you create a battery, right? So all these different layers in structured form is very, very sophisticated, and humans have not yet understood the human body.
Is that sort of getting into like the magnetics and how the Earth's magnetic system is sort of declining right now? So then we're getting like the solar rays that are actually going into our bodies differently than they have in the past. Is that sort of on that same like line of like we're getting upgraded in that way?
A little bit. It's related in the sense that everything is interconnected here. That's the beauty of this reality. having existed in other realities and mastered and become an ascended master and met millions of times, it puts me in a class of being that's very different. I work on harmonizing, almost like an orchestrator, like an orchestrate. And the purpose here is, so you got to understand fractal nested aspects of form and consciousness, and what that means. Let me explain that for you.
Okay.
So,
yeah, please do.
So you have a baby that comes out of a human.
Yes.
And then that human go on and has another baby come out of it.
Yes.
And this is a process that keeps repeating itself. And there's some amount of evolution and change within it, but there's a certain model of structure that continues. Now that overall structure can evolve further even in different ways, which humanity will go through at a certain point. But for the moment, we're sticking to this current structured form. But when we talk about the ascension of humanity, we are absolutely, this is a vibrational shift. Just like, think of the light spectrum. There's only a small amount that is seen with the eye, but there's a lot that's seen with the third eye.
Yes.
Which has retinas and cones in it. And then you consider that you have this metal encasing with holes in it and different resonator things, and they kind of point up your vertebrae right up into this pineal gland area here, and then it goes on and on and on. And then we could get into the chemical formulation of things and how that those are geometric patterns also, and that, if you think, it's like we're dry right now, but we're actually in a substance. To some, if you're a certain type of being, this would be liquid. It depends on the density. Right? And so when we talk about shifting vibrations and raising vibration, if we all raise our vibration together, we don't notice anything.
Right.
But somebody else might.
Right.
If they're not raising their vibration. So kind of like negative beings, we are at a cutoff point for if you want to come or not, it's happening. Come to peace with that, negative beings. We love you. Right. But if you need to spend more time in that sphere and state of consciousness, there's nothing wrong with it. God permits all of that for your own benefit of evolution. If you're in that place, it's no problem. And you will get to play with other people and other beings that want to play that game with you.
Right.
So we get really clear on what kind of game we want to play, understanding that everything is like a game.
Kind of like we are the stars of our own movies.
Yeah.
We are the center of our own universes. And is that what you think is going on specifically? Let's talk about right now. Like with everything going on in the universe, do you think people are picking their movie out right now, or picking their game out right now, or maybe having an opportunity to pick another movie if they've been in another timeline or whatever you want to say? Do you think, what is your thought on what is going on for the past, let's say, 6 months? But obviously it's been going on much longer. It's obviously been going on much longer. It's just sort of come to a culmination where we're all seeing it with not our third eyes, with our regular eyes. And then there's obviously a lot of people waking up right now to their divine feminine, their divine masculine. For this period in time right now, what do you think is happening, and what do you think people should be doing with this time?
Well, what do you think?
I think that we're being called to the true self and to really be brave. Healing isn't easy, right? Hasn't always been easy.
It takes effort.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It takes
an intention.
Yeah, it takes effort and I think bravery.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to stay on the hamster wheel, like what we were talking about earlier.
It's compelling. It can be very compelling.
Yes. It's a wonderful word for that.
And what you have to really understand is that the illusion of safety, right?
A total illusion.
People, and just because maybe at some point it was more safe, it was healthier, it was the way to be in, say, a corporate job. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
If somebody's called
especially if you
for
really
that,
like it.
Yeah, totally. But let's just say that the idea of being in like a nested an organization and being able to kind of like receive healthcare benefits and all that stuff, and like retirement fund,
Mm-hmm.
provides a very compelling illusion that you're taken care of. But we see that that's not always the case.
Absolutely.
And so you have to get real with yourself about what actually is safe. And that's why I talk all about having an open mind and entering into play, fun, and love, because that is much safer, because you're going to be constantly learning. And if you're always learning, you're going to stay in touch with what's happening around you. You know, if you're just like an ostrich, you put your head in the sand, you can have a herd of buffalo run you over, and you might think you're safe, but you're just not seeing what's happening. It doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean you're actually safe.
Yeah, I'm a perfect example of that. I had a quote-unquote got a real job for the first time after my son was born. I lasted a year and a few months. I didn't last very long because I've always been like,
What industry was
play, aesthetics. So it was like, it was totally my thing, but I was so controlled and and sales, which I love. I am a merchant. Like, I love talking about things that I like, but I don't like getting a certain number put on my plate every day, but I felt as though, and I had always lived in that play, fun, and love. I didn't have any responsibility. But then when my little one came along, I was like, must be responsible, must like go get corporate job, must do whatever. And really, I was sort of thrown away like garbage as soon as all like the COVID stuff happened. And it's like, and I thought, oh, I have a retirement, I have benefits, I have this and that. But that wasn't safe either. My grandmother worked at a factory, which we know factories or that's like not really a thing anymore, but our grandparents' generation was. And she was like 5 years away from retirement, and that place shut down, and she lost everything.
Yeah.
And so I've seen these little things happen over the years that I'd never conformed, and I was always fine. But for some reason, after I had my little boy, there was this feeling of like, I must get serious and I must like whatever. And again, that didn't work out very well. So I'm stepping back into the play, fun, and love because that's what really works. That's what I've always done. I'm 39 years old. Like, play, fun, and love. And it always takes me where, and I've never been on the streets with no food.
Yeah.
It's like I always have been taken care of, but I didn't think about it so consciously until after my little one got here, and then I'm like, oh, time to be serious. So what do you say to people like me with children who are like, I can't be play, fun, and love. Like, I have to get food on the table, and I have to...
You figure out where you're at, and you make the next step. It's not appropriate if you're like in total doom and gloom all day, and you have a lot of obligation and stuff. Maybe it's too much. From ability and lifestyle and responsibilities or whatever, it's appropriate to make some small correction. Yeah. I'm not an advocate of just kind of like jumping off the ledge type of an approach. It doesn't work. It is a very short-term gain, because in the longer stroke, you don't really know how you got there, how to replicate it, because at some point that ledge is too much to handle. See, it's a better investment in yourself to cultivate the curiosity and interest and have some amount of discipline. Discipline can be well within play, fun, and love. Discipline
has not been easy for me over the years because I have more play, fun, and love. Probably because I was a little controlled growing up. So then when I got to be an adult, I was like, I'm going to do what I want. Play, fun, and love. It was literally my whole thing. But now this YouTube channel is new. The last 6 or 8 weeks, I said, I'm going to commit to this totally. And it will still be play, fun, and love, but I will not miss my Wednesday and I will not miss my Sunday tapings. And I'll actually try to stay ahead of the game a little bit so that I can get monetized faster, so that we can create that wealth and abundance, but while in the process of helping people and teaching and talking about topics that don't get talked about a whole lot. Like, you've probably never really, like, except for on your own YouTube channel, had the opportunity to sit and chat.
Not yet. I'm just getting started.
About this wild life, because life can be, even when you're not 22, because you're in your later 30s, I'm in my later 30s, like, it can be this amazing, super fun, super like wear your face paint, wear your sparkles journey. Even when you're not a kid, you can still live in that inner child, but it takes effort as we're getting older.
And that's where, that's where, and that's as consciousness evolves, and as your consciousness evolves, your appetite for play, fun, and love evolves.
Right.
You desire, like I desire to do. I have a different sense of play.
Right.
Than other people.
Right.
Right.
What do you like to do? Like, what's your
kind
of kick?
Surfing.
Oh, cool.
I love surfing.
Yeah, that's kind of your kickback.
I love surfing. I started getting into airbrushing. I like airbrushing.
Fun. Like t-shirts and stuff, or
like
whatever.
Clothing. Like I'll make some of my own clothing with my own designs and stuff like on it.
Oh, awesome.
And I also enjoy. I love walking. I try to go for a run. Like every other day, I'll do 3 to 6 miles. I love swimming in the ocean. I love hanging out with people like you.
Yeah.
Talking about interesting things.
Yeah.
And that's what actually drew me to come and jump on your thing. I was like, this girl knows, like, is into play. I feel like I would just enjoy sitting and talking with you. Otherwise, I have other things to do.
Well, yeah, because so our connection is his roommate, and she said he's really private. I don't know, like if he'll come on, and I was like, just please ask him, like please. So thank you for coming on, because I know you're a little more private, and I appreciate you coming to share space with me.
Well, I'm honored. I feel honored.
And also sharing what you do.
Yeah.
So I want to know, and tell me if you feel comfortable doing this, do like a little mini version of like what you would do in a session or a healing with the mudras, so that we can feel that, and so that the people on YouTube can feel that as well, because we've been seeing you. So you know what's funny is I do this a lot with, did you notice?
Yep.
And it's not been a conscious thing, but it's gotten not worse, but more so in the last few months. And I'll be like, okay, wait, like you're waiting for the download.
I've been noticing that for people also. And that's why I'm saying, it's like, I'm not going to probably sit around and teach mudras, but I'll teach people about accessing and honoring their feelings. Because as your consciousness evolves, you're going to connect with the appropriate, because I'm not like, oh, I'm not going to go to this mudra,
I like it. I just love the movement. I'm like, just move and like feel it. Let it come through.
There you
go. I love it.
And there might be deeper meaning than you're not aware of behind that, which is fine, which is wonderful, which is cool.
Yeah. You know? How did it start for you with the true yogic mudras, or did it start kind of like how mine is?
No,
like, just a little movement?
No. I was not interested in mudras before my unlocking of my soul, which happened in a moment. It happened in a
Was that after a traumatic experience?
No, I was working with a plant medicine.
Oh, so we've talked about plant medicine quite a bit on the show, so if you want to go into that, we can.
Yeah, I can go a little bit into it. It was how facilitated the unlocking. It was the key in the lock that I had set for myself, and it opened up this galactic wisdom. I worked with it for a number of months beforehand, and it was just the right time, right intention, right moment. I had gone through a few different stages that were cool and interesting and fascinating and profound before the big one, before the galactic awakening. I had gone through like an ego death. My original identity kind of died, and I mourned that, and it was sad. But I had to go through, because I was like, I had my love and my desire to move forward was greater than that pull. It's like gravity, you have enough force and you fly,
Yeah.
So that had happened. There's a few other ones that kind of happened, but nothing compared with the galactic awakening, which set me on the new path that I'm on. It was not expected. I had all these beings come at me, and a lot of them were not happy that I was here.
They were mad you left?
No, they
that or
no. So when like a master like me comes in, like understanding that I had become an ascended master like millions of times, and usually we think of these ascended masters. These are one-time ascended master. So to become an ascended master is to enter into full, pretty much unconsciousness, and evolve beyond the game of that structured reality, and so you move out of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of ascend, you kind of evolve, and I've done that millions of times in realities other than this reality, not in Earth, not in humanity,
Right.
other places in the universe,
Right.
which is profoundly vast, huge, bigger than your wildest dreams.
Yeah, and a lot of people actually can't wrap their head around that.
And you shouldn't try to. That's why you just stay open and curious.
Yeah, I just like love all the galactic and cosmic beings. Though when people are like aliens, I'm like, I love them. They're so awesome, and they actually just started showing up for me in the last 6 months since I've been home, and in meditation, which honestly I don't get a whole lot of because I have a almost 3-year-old.
It's a different type of meditation you do.
It's a movement meditation, and kind of staying calm and centered as much as possible in lots of movement. But I had one show up for the first time. I had only been working, since my journey started with angelic beings and light beings, and then I had what I felt to be a gray show up, or what has been explained, as a gray, and I was like, wow, that was amazing, but it had never happened before. So when you had this galactic awakening, did you see, feel, was it just a third eye like download, or did you actually feel like the beings coming in? What was that?
It's this enters into realms of understanding that are not common for most people, so they wouldn't have the necessary, without any diminishment on people. I always is an issue I run into people. If people feel shunned in any way, they get very, they feel very bad about that. That's not what I mean in any way. But that's
But when you work with plant medicines, you go somewhere different anyways.
Yeah.
So if you've never experienced a plant medicine before, you may be like, what in the fuck are they talking about? But plant medicines in general put you on a different level of just understanding and openness, I guess maybe is a good way. It's a different, I'm different than I was.
Let me put it this way. If you eat an apple, you're eating apple consciousness, right? If you're eating kale, or if you're eating a pig, you're eating those types of consciousness. Now, they're all attuned to different types of consciousness, right? And we're used to this specific type of consciousness. We have a kind of agreed upon basic types of things that we typically eat. But there are many different types of consciousness. Just like every flavor is a different type of consciousness, every color is a different type of consciousness. And so when we talk about expanded consciousness, there's stuff beyond what people are typically used to.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that they're bad or good.
No.
Just like a color is not bad or good.
Right, of course.
But you got some souls, so different souls, despite somebody's physical age, may be younger or older of a soul.
100%.
Which helps.
Felt it my entire life. 100%.
So that can provide a lot of kind of understanding for people when they are talking with their parents, for example, and their parents are not getting all this very seemingly basic information.
Yes.
Because they might actually be a much younger soul than you.
Absolutely.
Which is fine.
Yes.
But you got to have that respect for them. And you got to honor them where they're at. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems because nobody wants to be pushed around, and they still are offered free will and
100%. Yes.
And that's where the play, fun, and love comes in.
Yeah.
The honoring that comes from a deeper honoring of yourself and others. Do I really want to enter into this particular type of a conversation now with somebody? No, maybe not. I can live without that.
Yeah.
I can live without. I have something else more fun to do.
Actually, I have another question for you, because this is something that I've been struggling with personally, and I also believe it to be a collective thing right now. I still want you to do your transmission,
Sure,
but I want to ask this first. So for those of us that are doing all the inner child healing right now, for those of us that are trying to accept ourselves as we are and to break the ties that bind us, I have wanted to reach out to or thought maybe this is the right thing, wanted to reach out to, the people that hurt me as a child, that sort of shut certain doors. That was what I was I know they're not open to accepting it. That was what.
That would be a form of giving away your power.
Okay.
I work with people with that, like that. I have somebody right now in my life that's very close to me that I'm working with a little bit like that.
Okay.
And it's compelling because you want that.
You want to be like,
you want
why
that,
did you
especially
do that?
in deeper abuse. I don't know if you're familiar, like being trauma bonded and stuff like that. Trauma bonds when you become like Stockholm
like
syndrome.
The cords that
Stockholm syndrome, where when you go through traumatic experiences with somebody, it can actually create an affinity for them. You can fall in love with your captor, kind of.
Right. Right.
And there's layers to that are not what people don't normally think about, but there is a physiological aspect of your hormones and everything, just like it becomes basically an addiction.
Right.
Because adrenaline is quite addictive. And so if you're getting hit on a lot of adrenaline or other hormones, and there's lots of reasons that can come into play. But my advice is always to create the healing within yourself and do whatever you need to do that. Go to a break room. I don't know that works really well.
I'm a wrestler. I love to kick shit in, and like, there's never been a better way for me to live in my shadow self, which I'm also realizing is very therapeutic for me, to get to live her and like kick shit in and like, be sassy in a character, but really the character is me, just a shadow version. But it's wonderful when she gets to come out and play in the world. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm sure actors feel the same way.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure about that.
So
I like what Jim Carrey says about this, though, is, do you know what he says about this?
I've watched quite a bit of his stuff, but tell me in particular.
What he says is that, I was there, he was like, speaking as Jim Carrey, he's like, I was there, living this role and this acting out, and I love making people laugh. It's so great. And all along, I didn't realize I was also playing this other role of Jim Carrey. That was another role he was playing. Yeah. And that's I like to bring people into that understanding, because the roles are beautiful. They're important. They have a place. They have a role.
I feel as though it's so fun to get to like don the costume and this face paint.
But it's really the most fun when you realize the truth behind it, which is that you're not that, but you get to try it on.
Maybe that's part of the reason why we chose the vessels and the denseness of like the body. That's so that we could come in and like play the different roles. Yeah. So this was such a good thing for us to touch on, because I have been deeply struggling. Do I say something? Do I not say something? So how do I drop it? How do I drop it? Well, like, I don't want it to be there.
Yeah. Well, how about we do a little drumming?
Okay.
We can see what happens.
I love drumming.
Different types of problems. I'm like trying to figure out how to help all of humanity, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, a child is like trying to figure out how to play with his toy.
Right.
And they're both important and beautiful. And that's why God's power is so profound, because he lives at every layer. Right. There's other beings in the universe, like what I was going to say before, is when I woke up, being hit by lots of very powerful, the beings that have been controlling this whole reality, okay? Right. These are powerful fucking beings. You don't know them. You're never going to hear of them. They don't operate in the way you think that they operate. Let me just say that, mind control is like a
reptilian type thing?
Not even reptilian, okay? So that mind control is a very early stage. Okay, so you got the gray aliens that mind control you so you didn't see them, right? Or you can get dimensional beings that are not in this physical form, but they are still affecting you in some way. It's just so complicated, but it's so cool.
It is.
It's so cool, but that's where we come into just a very loving care for ourselves and tending to ourselves with such care, understanding that you are so sacred and that your being is precious beyond comprehension. So that's the kind of understanding that understanding is where my teachings really begin. Coming from this understanding of the sacredness of all life, because anything before that is already kind of out there, right? I am going to teach I'm planning on creating my online course that's going to have all the basic areas of life mastery from child raising to food preparation. And this should be taken in a fun way that just kind of, because people are going to want to know how I do that.
And they're like, oh no,
But all this work, I'm not interested in doing the work for other people, but I do offer accelerated evolution. The acceleratedness happens from the compassion and love we can offer each other. You can access some of my wisdom and some of my experience. It's not yours yet though, but it gives you kind of like, okay, well maybe it works like this, maybe it works like this, and it gives some possibilities.
Opens up little baby portals.
Yeah, because you might not have been looking in this area, and now it could have taken you 1,000 years to figure out that would be a possibility of an area to look at, right? So by accessing that through me, and we offer that to each other. I'm not alone in this.
Yes.
We our momentary blessings to each other get to support each other, and that's why we're all here.
Yes. Well, that's what I was telling Max before we even got started. I said every single time I sit with someone, something new is opened up, and it's just been an amazing, like, just 6-8 weeks, just meeting people, because it's like little flower petals, each person opens up a new bloom, and it's like, holy cow, like, this is amazing. We're not even doing a true session right now. We're just sharing space, but something will happen from this, and I'll be texting you in a week or two from now and be like, guess what? Guess what happened?
Oh my God, girlfriend!
So continue on.
Well, let me explain a little bit of the energy work that I offer. Typically my first layer, there are many layers, okay?
Yes.
My first layer I usually start people with is what I call a soul reading. So in the soul reading, I just kind of like understanding your soul a little bit more in the current life lessons that you're dealing with. And then I might offer a little bit, I might not. I have to access my own creativity and wisdom in the most appropriate way to tend to you.
Absolutely.
And from that, it might lead into some energy work. It might be like, you need to go do this, that's my advice, or we can work more directly. The next layer is kind of more of like a sound healing kind of a vibe, where I'm usually working with maybe some drum or maybe a voice. That's easier in person. I guess I could probably do that online, probably record something specifically for somebody.
Kind of mic.
Yeah, I'll probably record something for something they can play it over themselves. So it'd probably work. The next layer starts moving into working with my mudras and a little bit of vocal harmonics and some of my transmission work. And then it kind of just keeps going from there into just intensity and strength and power of the transmissions.
The transmissions are my absolute favorite thing. I was like, can you please come here and do this? Because I was watching on YouTube yesterday, and I was like, amazing. And I think it also resonated because I've been doing this whole thing and not really understanding it.
It's something that
the past few months.
Yeah, it's something that I hold a lot of care because it is quite sacred. And so we could certainly sit down and do a nice session together around that. We can get into specific transmissions for you. But just even working with me a little bit, as I'm moving, it's a little bit of that because I work on many planes of consciousness, right? But I think the drumming is a nice one now because I think it's accessible to everybody.
Yes, 100%.
And I can just see what happens with it. You get a little vibe off it. The mic as well situated there. She's just yelling it out now.
I love it. I love drumming. I love going to the beach and doing the drumming sessions there. Why does that feel so natural? That just feels like natural, but I feel that would be, people are probably what the heck, but that feels
have you felt
natural.
out of place in your life at any point?
My entire life. My entire life.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, because that just, and I'm the same when I go to drum circles and stuff. I'm just I just love it. But then in this vessel, it seems people think I should be a certain way, right?
Sure.
So that was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now that I'm zoned out,
that's like the beginning of some multi-dimensional consciousness that I work with.
Like
right?
some awakening codes, things like that, or
stuff
something.
like that,
I felt like there was stuff like stirring from like deep within. Do people typically do what I do and like start like moving?
They can. Sometimes people are laying
Some people
down.
are just
Sometimes people are sitting up. It kind of depends, and no two kind of sessions are the same. It's a conversation, really. You know, if you think about it, we're using the same words, but we never have had this exact conversation, and yet there's different type of meaning carried within it. It's appropriate for this moment and this circumstance, but if this was taken out of context, it would be very odd. Right? So similar with when I work with these types of energy work and sound and frequencies and vibrations, they're positioned situationally. So if I do a session with somebody that's specifically and uniquely appropriate for them at that moment in time, and it might be something that they carry with them. If it's like a recording, they can listen for some period of time until they feel done with it.
Yeah, it would be wonderful.
And that's fine. But some people are not attracted to this at all, and they'll run the other direction.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful because I honor that. It's like that's important. You should be doing that.
Yeah.
You gotta tune in with your heart. What's right.
Yeah, I've sat with many healers over the last 12, 13 years, and I've had theta healing sessions. Worked with my shaman a lot. And in just the Reiki, all the. Which did you go through any of that, or did you just channel all the information? You just channeled the information. So I don't think it's really that important. Like I have a Capricorn sun, so I did the certifications and the this and that. I actually don't think it's important. I think it's an inherent thing that we all have, and it's just who's tapping into what levels. So thank you for that. That was amazing.
If it feels supportive on your journey, find people you enjoy learning with.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is the way I work with it, and this is my advice. I don't care if it's a shaman. I don't care if it's a priest. I don't care who it is. Mother, teacher, anybody. It has to be done with care.
Yes, intentions. Yeah.
Right? And honor and respect for. I have to enter with my respect for myself just as much as respect for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That is the rules of the game. From that standpoint, we can have a lot of fun.
Yes, universal laws.
Now, if we are not in that state, it's a different type of game, and it's not fun, and it doesn't allow for the kind of learning and growth. It's a different type of game that was more appropriate in the past for humanity.
Old paradigms. Yeah. Have you attracted many people over the years that were not of resonance with you in your healing practice?
Yeah, I mean,
you
of course. Yeah, I mean, like that I would be tending to, or just in my life?
No, that were like not of resonance so much. Like in your healing, have you had people that you've just, like you and I just met an hour ago, and we're like, hey. But like, have you had people come to you that you're just like, oh wow, this is like not.
Oh, they come to me for healing work?
Yes.
Yeah.
And have you had to say?
Usually I don't have to bother with it because they just don't stay
Take
very
care
long.
of itself.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Let me put it this way. If I had a belief that I needed them to complete me, I would probably try to loop them into something that wasn't good for them or me.
Right.
Out of my own self-doubt, probably. And so that would be something that I would teach to people, like a lot of light workers and healers, empaths.
Right.
Fucking empaths.
Empaths. Woo! Recovering.
Yeah. Can I get in another narcissistic relationship? Can you just let me do that?
Yeah, it's like recovering pleaser.
Yeah. But that's a whole topic unto itself, which is fine, and that's beautiful. It's
we could do a whole. Yeah, you could do a whole episode on the empath narcissist
I'll probably
relationship.
Do that
yeah,
for my channel or whatever.
We could probably.
But if I had this belief that I needed them to complete me in some way, or I needed or wanted their attention or affection or their money or whatever, and it wasn't like in my heart, then I would be doing both people a disservice.
Absolutely. What are these?
These are rubies. and sapphire. They're in this, their same kind of stone. It's called corundum.
Okay.
So ruby is the stone of truth, which I love. And it was a dream come true. I wore beads for years, and I've had some beads that I've sent to this different physicist type people who write information into stones.
Oh, wow.
These ones I haven't had that done to, but they still even feel more powerful than ones that I had even had kind of codes written into them.
Right.
And this is from the Ringing Cedars.
I like that one.
The Ringing Cedars books, which is what I mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
My echo communities are built off of the ideas in the Ringing Cedars books. So.
Okay. Did you have that specially made?
No, this was made by some people in Siberia.
Oh, neat.
They sell them online.
Oh, I really like that one. So what do you want to leave people with? Like, what's your message for humanity as we sign off
faith
here?
and love.
Yeah,
Faith and love.
I love it.
Keep it simple.
That one's mine too. Like, cause it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Like, we all breathe. We're all gonna die. Like, it's not that serious.
Well,
We're all
I'll wrap
on
it
the
up.
same path.
I'll wrap it up. I'll make this super practical for people, and
Yeah.
I get into this with people. But let's say that you're doing something you don't believe in, that's not good for you and not good for other people. You are perpetuating a system of living that is not good for you and good for others, and it will destroy itself at some point.
Absolutely.
It has to, if it's because play, fun, and love is about sustainability. If you can continue to do it, you see, fun is. I'll get into that later. More explanation, the detail, how the mechanics of this work. This is something I'll share on my website. But if you're doing something you don't enjoy, and you don't love it, and you're not, whatever. I'm not saying you need to jump into, million degree, but open up to the possibility that could be something that you could do, and start today with something that is pleasurable and enjoyable for you and honoring of you. But the boundary on it is that cannot be bad for others. That's the constraint on it. It has to be good for you, ideally good for everybody else but at least not harming anybody.
Right.
That's the standard on it.
Yeah, I'm wanting to go somewhere else, but I'm going to cut it off here. Maybe we'll do another one in a month or two. So thank you, Maximus, for coming on. I so enjoyed having you. Where can people find you?
You can find me at my website, maximuslight.com, maximuslight.com. I have a YouTube channel you can get to from there. You can check out some of my transmissions, and I have some basic teachings on there. And please sign up for my newsletter. You'll be in touch because I'm going to be releasing my membership stuff soon, or whenever I get around to it.
And I'll link everything at the bottom too. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. Please remember, subscriptions, likes, comments, shares really matter. This is a new channel, but we're trying to get out a really special message. So please, please, please share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on Connected with Krissy.
Bye. Bye-bye.